Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm so excited to be with you here today. We have got an exciting one. I have to give a special thank you to our very own Turmeric and Tequila COO, the Katie Gerhard, for finding Zac Clejan. He is the trap violinist. I'm going to have him come on, and he's the perfect Turmeric and Tequila guest because he is taking his passion and his skill and merging two worlds that aren't usually put together and blazing some incredible trails. So we are going to unpack all the deets there. Before we do, let's give some love to our sponsors that are making this all happen. Lux Neuro, neurofeedback and counseling. They are offering all kinds of great things this new year, especially during the holiday season. This is where your heart and mind align. For more information about what neurofeedback can do for you, listen to the neurofeedback stories of transformation in the middle of this podcast. Neurofeedback effectively treats everything from insomnia, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and much more. Optimize your brain. A very special thank you to Declan James Watches. They are veteran owned and founded out here in Colorado with 10% kicking back to the Navy SEAL Foundation. And finally, our very own Colorado Clownfish Swim School. They do swim lessons and water safety training for all, and they believe in life skills through sports. So come waterproof your family today. Without further ado, Zac, welcome to Turmeric and Tequila.
Thank you for having me, Kristen. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, we are full transparency. We're coming off Thanksgiving Day. It's the day after, so we're both rock starring this mojo to think with, turkey and such coma overload. So I'm excited about this combo, and we'll get our cardio in today, just having some good laughs and some post-holiday glee out here.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right, so Zac is a classically trained violinist, songwriter, and rapper from Atlanta, Georgia. And sometimes I read the bio, sometimes I don't. I'm going to let you tell your journey because I love it so much, and it's so fitting for what we talk about on our show. But give us like the kind of long and short of like young Zac, and how did we wind to this path to where we are today?
Yeah, so I guess start with the short version is I come from family of musicians, was trained classically my whole life, fell in love with hip hop living in Atlanta and dealing with some stuff at home, and tried to be a rapper in high school, run away from the violin. Didn't work for me, went to business school, got a business job in LA, started moonlighting in music among other things, and eventually found my way back and left my corporate job to dive in with the idea to start rapping and playing violin. I saw this lane to do that, and I've been on that journey for the past 5 years, and it's been just such a blessing to have taken that chance on myself and be creating some unique art. So I'm very, very blessed to be able to be in this position and keep creating. So I'm very thankful.
Let's go.
That's the short version, and then
yeah,
I can get the gritty details. We can do that through the call, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good side of this, I love the through line because we talk a lot about mental health and community on Turmeric and Tequila. I started this podcast to disrupt the marketing and branding space because there's just so much smoke and mirrors out there. But for our creatives and our creators, it's so critically important that we keep that creative outlet in our life. And I think even when you try and get away from it or you shape shift it into something you think it needs to be, that's where some of these mental health struggles can really come in. And having that outlet, whether you do it professionally or not, is a really important piece. When you were young and you started to, music sounds like it was always a piece of the puzzle, but when you're pushing the violin away and you're headed towards hip hop, did that kind of impact your mental health trying to fit something that was authentically you into these other two spaces?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those situations where everyone is, even I wasn't even trying to fit in hip hop into the violin when I was a kid. I was really trying to just run as far away from the violin as I could, because to be honest, I hated it. I hated playing violin. I was forced to play. It was a chore I had to do before I could play video games or see my friends. So violin was not something I found any joy in, but hip hop was. So trying to do that definitely affected my mental health as a teenager, just because I'm sure you or maybe your listeners have had those high school even white rappers who aren't necessarily part of the culture as much as maybe they should be before entering like such a realm of music. But I was like laughed at a lot and like ridiculed by most of my community for wanting to get into rap and hip hop. And even being from Atlanta, when it was such a big thing in our culture, it was not something that was easily accepted from where I was. So I definitely had to deal with a lot of like denial and a lot of like laughter and things that made me feel less than, for sure. And that might be part of the reason why I quit rap in college. Just like I quit violin because I didn't love it. I quit rap in college because I was still like, people were still like, oh, I would introduce myself and they'd be like, oh, you're that like white rapper guy. And like, they would say with like a laugh in their voice. And like, I knew like my first semester of college, I was like, all right, I need to make a choice. Like, I'm either like going all in on music and like really trying this thing, or I'm like going to take a step back and like focus on my schooling and my degree and like my college life as just a human being. Like, so I decided to take a complete step away from music, and I didn't touch it for like 6 years in college. And now that's outside of college because it was like starting to affect my mental health.
Yeah.
So I just, took care of that. I took care of me. I found the confidence in myself through those years, and to like not need anyone else's approval. And that was a big step in me controlling and keeping track of like my mental health while trying to do something crazy like that.
That's amazing. Well, it's funny how like something that can keep your spirit and your soul alive, the music, can then all of a sudden turn into this thing that like really brings you down. It's more the people and the opinions on the outside, which is a skill set we all have to go through. Like any which ways you get older, you have to grow up and find your quote unquote authentic self and whatnot. And it takes time, and it takes, a lot of breakdowns and breakthroughs to figure that out. What were some of the things you did to have that awareness to be like, all right, I'm going to take a break and take a step? Like, what was it where like, all right, I'm going to take care of me? And then once you notice, what did you do to do that?
I guess I just like learned. I studied. I just gave myself the tools I felt like I didn't have before. Like I even when I was in high school and college, I felt like, I could figure this out along the way, but it's going to be a lot of like a lot to manage. And that's why I was like, maybe just let me be a college kid and like learn some tools to like be an adult and like learn. And I picked a degree that I thought could maybe help me in music. So I kept that dream in mind as I was making these other decisions. And I learned marketing, and like coming out of school with a marketing degree, and I got an emphasis in digital marketing. Like that's been huge for the progression of my career, and also just like my confidence. Like, just giving myself the tools, like learning and sitting at a computer for 16 hours a day during COVID to teach myself how to make music, like things like that. Just, I think that's like a really important thing is learning and the quest for knowledge. And if you feel like there's something missing, like you can fill in that hole with your drive and your quest for that knowledge, because you can learn so much online today that I feel like that's a really important part of it, is just giving yourself the tools to feel confident, and also trying and failing. I think that's also super important, obviously, is like if anytime you're trying some sort of endeavor, like you got to be okay with failing. And in fact, you got to like appreciate it, like, and want more of it, because, failures are lessons, and every step is a step closer to your dream.
Absolutely. Well, and the funny part is I'm totally with you. The upside of all social media and everything at our fingertips is accessibility, and it's all out there. Sometimes you got to sift through things, but I think being proactive and taking action, finding a solution to whatever your problem is a really necessary like getting things together. And so I think, stepping up and taking that action is definitely like a step one, but also then getting in it and letting go just enough to like let some stuff happen. I don't know if you had intentionality around being like, all right, well, if I do music and I do digital marketing, this is going to help my social media. But what a perfect pairing at the right time, in 2024, almost 2025, where you've got these eclectic skills that otherwise didn't really exist in, the mainstream. Like musicians back in the day weren't polishing up their social media skills. They just cared about the music.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes together.
It does. You got to be intentional. And also have vision too. Like, even if it's crazy, even if it's like completely out of pocket, like, oh, I'm going to get this marketing degree and use that to like become a trap violinist, like superstar. Like, that was the dream. That was like the wildest dream. But like, as it was happening, I'm like, the odds are so small, but like, I'm still going to give it a chance, because I knew it's what like filled my soul up. Like that was my passion. So I just never let it out of my head, and I kept learning and trying things that I thought could help bring me closer.
When you were like in like maybe 9 to 5s or like quote unquote regular jobs, did you ever have this pulling to be like, I just don't belong, like this just isn't a fit? Like was something just always kind of off?
Yeah, I mean, ever since, the good thing about trying rap in high school was that like I knew that like I was passionate about. I knew that it like filled my soul up. I could something I could do the rest of my life. Like I knew that in high school, which was a cool thing to figure out that early.
Yeah.
So like literally everything since then just didn't everything, even like, you know, any job I got, any college I went to, or anything I did, it wasn't there. It felt like there was a piece missing. So, yeah, sitting at the 9 to 5, you know, like I used to open envelopes all day, like little just mailers, and like sort them and like organize them and like work on the writing material in them and the pictures and stuff. Like that was my job. I literally sit at my desk just opening envelopes with an envelope opener for like 4 hours, 5 hours a day. And yeah, I was just like, you know, I definitely felt like something was missing. So yeah, that definitely was a drive to like do something about it for sure. Which I think is important. Oh, you might be froze for a second.
Internet's going crazy. Yeah, no, it's what, and the reason I asked is because I felt the same way, even with like really great opportunities, like until I landed in, you know, marketing and branding in my own company. And now this podcast, I remember walking in rooms and being like, this is a great opportunity. I'm glad to be here. And like, I just feel like I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I just don't fit in. Like, this just isn't where I'm supposed to be. And it wasn't like this outstanding, like, oh, get out of here, whatever. It was just like this consistent nag of like, man, something's just a little bit off. And kind of like your journey, I had switched my business major in college to accommodate my lacrosse schedule because I was a Division I athlete. And so I just cared about playing. And ironically, the only thing that fit was a comm major. And so I had some mic time and I was just kind of doing it to accommodate lacrosse. But then fast forward 25 years, I found myself back on the mic, like intentionally, but like totally unplanned. So sometimes it just has to weave and web, and things are preparing you more than you know for something that you had a vision of, but it still has to come together. And oftentimes the vision and the plan is better than what you could think, but you need those reps and those breakdowns and those breakthroughs to be prepared gonna do.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's important to listen to that voice in your head too, that's telling you it's important to listen to that voice in your head that's telling you, you know, something isn't right here, like something's missing, like, because that's your internal voice, and you know that's you, that's your subconscious. So it's an important thing to listen to.
It's a huge piece of the game. And I want to talk about, because for all the creatives, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and young humans that listen that want to lean into this creative path, but don't really know how to take that first step or make something that isn't a thing yet a thing. So I would love for you to, and I want to champion you on this because, you know, you're very good at the business side. You're, you know, up and intentional and engaged with your social media. You answer emails, you show up on time, like you get stuff. And I think a lot of people don't understand the business side of being a creative or an artist and how important that is in this day and age. And your intentionality and how you treat people, like all of this plays into being a successful creator, and people sleep on that side of it. Do you have any good like business tips or words of advice how well you've done the business side of being an artist and a creator?
Yeah, I mean, at a broad level, you know, it's extremely important to have business acumen in music, because any independent artist will know this. Like, what you're doing is you're running a business. Like you're as an independent artist, you are running your business. Your music is your product. You know, your sound, your look, how you treat people, that's your brand. And you are the CEO. You are the CEO of having that product be successful or not. So like, and that has marketing, that has legal, that has advertising, that is HR, that is everything in a business. You have to know all of the different lanes and know how to keep them moving and turning successfully. So like getting a business degree was probably one of the best things I ever did for my music career. Cause like I said, like I didn't feel like I had the tools in high school. Like I didn't know how to make it in music. Like I was just like making music in a college dorm room, like, and putting it out independently to nobody. Like, but without the acumen to know like how to run the business and scale it eventually, like, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. And yeah, like it's super important to have that business acumen, and it's, you know, it's learnable too. Like you don't need to go to college to do it. You could read some books, you could watch some YouTube videos. The learning is accessible. Did I freeze again?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. I didn't get my message? Did I get what I said, or did I freeze?
I think we ended off on the business acumen.
Oh yeah, it's just important to have the tool. Like it's just a necessary, like, and the learning is there. You can learn on YouTube, you can learn in books. It's very accessible. Why am I freezing?
I don't know what's going on today. Universe is messing with our energy out here.
Let's go. Man. Good.
We're good. Well, the business side, I agree with you. I think it's so huge and it's not talked about enough. I think people just think that you show up, you do art, and you get paid, and there's not all this other stuff. Like an athlete, like you just show up and win the Super Bowl, and they don't see the thousands of hours that are not only on the field, but you're doing nutrition, you're training, you're stretching. Like there's so many angles to this game that play into it that you got to really be a well-rounded human. And again, like we talked about earlier, take that action to learn and to figure out. Did you have any sort of like mentorship or someone that you looked up to besides the artist, like maybe on the business side or anything like that? Or maybe it was the artist that you could kind of model or look up to as far as modeling your career, your journey after?
So I would say I had inspiration from, you know, artists like Lindsey Sterling. The fact that she did what she did, if anyone listeners don't know, Lindsey Sterling is like one of the goats of violin. She dances while playing violin. She makes original music. She makes covers. She's extremely talented. She went on America's Got Talent and like notoriously like did not make it to the finals, but used that, you know, quote unquote failure to create an insanely impressive career where she sells out stadiums across the world, does world tours. You know, just crushing it as an independent original violinist. She wasn't always independent, but what I was able to do is draw inspiration from her, because I was able to look at the market and say, like, okay, like this person has done a solo violin career and completely made it in modern music. Like, and then I'd never really seen that before in the way that Lindsey did it, but the way she did it, I was like, okay, like I can do what she did, because she did it really for like pop and like EDM genre with the violin. And then, but I was like, okay, I think I can do that for like hip hop and rap. Like, I think I can lean into this lead violin style. And because, so, you know, great artists take something that's done maybe, and they change it a little bit. And that's all I was doing, is I was saying, Lindsey already proved this market. My business said, I'm not going to quit my job and try this crazy dream and with nothing, no idea if it could ever work. I was able to look at her and be like, okay, she did this. I can do this similar thing, and it's my niche will be rapping, but I just need to make high quality music. And, you know, the one thing I was missing throughout my career was a mentor. Like, I've never had someone in the music business or an artist, like even that I knew personally, that I was able to like ask questions and ask advice for. I really just had to figure this shit out on my own. And, but I mean, like I said, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, like I've curated my feed. I get like tips on, you know, for the past 4 years, I've been getting tips on growing and being a music artist for years on, you know, video platforms. So there's ways to find, you know, teachers without knowing them personally. And I never knew anybody personally, which was a big part, and still is a bit of a missing part in my career. I would love like a mentor or someone to help keep me growing and putting me in doors that I maybe couldn't open myself because of connections and stuff. But, you know, I just keep, you know, I'm going to keep grinding, and hopefully that will appear, you know.
Well, and I think that's a really interesting point. And I'll put this out because I know it'll happen, but I have no doubt that at some point you will be someone like you, this mentor. Like, you'll be out there, and like kind of like your journey right now that you're blazing trail in will be someone else's kind of roadmap to whatever their, you know, end game is. But, you know, seemingly opposing things can harmoniously coexist. Turmeric and tequila, that's what we're here. And when you are blazing that trail, you just got to go one step at a time and figure it out. If there is no mentor, if there's no someone that's specific out there, which a lot of our listeners or entrepreneurs or creators that are in our TNT community are like that, where they're doing these things that are kind of random that haven't been done yet. So you really do have to just go one step at a time and pull any intel you can from anywhere to kind of just keep showing up. And I mean, I hate to, as cliche as it sounds, but keep following your heart and just do what feels right, because that's kind of your only North Star.
Yeah. And on that tip too, like, Honestly, the music business people that I did talk to about what I was doing were all like, stop. All of them
Yeah.
were like, what, except for one, this one guy who was Michael Jackson's singing coach, just
Hey,
happened to see me like in a studio randomly when I was first beginning.
what?
And he saw me like doing this rap and violin. And I talked to him about like, I was like, everyone in the business is telling me to stop doing this because it's true. Everyone I had interacted with when I was first starting, music business or not, were like, stop. You're good at violin. Keep the violin. You're doing great at the violin. Keep that up. Stop talking. Don't rap. What are you doing? That's
Ugh.
awful. Like I got that from every angle in and out of the music business. But thankfully this guy came in and saw me and he was just like, and I told him that and he was like, no, keep going. Do
Great.
more. Do this has not been like, this is something, do more of this. So that was able to inspire me to like keep going. But like, yeah, just the fact that like, even if people are telling you like to stop doing what it is that is different or new, like people are afraid of change. They're afraid of the
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
I now use that like as such a catalyst to keep doing what I'm doing when people tell me to stop. Because like if I listened to them, I wouldn't have achieved any amicum of success that I've achieved now.
Amen. It's so real. And first of all, rule number one, side eye all industry people, period. I don't even if I'm lumped in that category, like by all means, because you got to look out for number one and understand that people live in very like, tunnel visioned realities. And so if they're there to advise you certain things, they're only looking at it from one way. But on the flip side, like it's a very important lesson, I think, for all people, but particularly young people, you don't need everyone. You need that one or your community or your small group of believers, because you're never going to convince everyone that, you're this, that, and the other. But you only need the people that want to show up and want to be in the mix and want to believe. So you don't have to spend a ton of time convincing everyone. You just got to convince yourself and then, your 5 other team members to get stuff going.
Hi there. This is Laura Mahoney from Lux Neuro, Neurofeedback and Counseling. We are bringing you stories of transformation each podcast. Imagine how we can transform your life. Insomnia. I had not been sleeping well for months. My energy level was low. Small tasks felt incredibly challenging. Lack of quality of sleep was obviously impacting my relationships, my ability to be the mom I wanted to be, and my ability to concentrate at work. I didn't feel like myself at all. At that time, I was in talk therapy, and it really didn't seem to be doing much for me. Fortunately, I found neurofeedback, specifically Laura Mahoney, and after a few sessions, I started to see some light at the end of the tunnel. I started sleeping better, and life felt more enjoyable. I began feeling like my energetic self again. I am almost at the end of my neurofeedback protocol, and I am so grateful for Lux Neuro as they have literally changed my life. While neurofeedback is quite an investment of time and money, it has been well worth it. Thank you, Lux Neuro and Laura Mahoney. You've changed my life.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you were just kind of lucky? Because I do think you can be like my mission-driven varsity humans. We'll read more, we'll train harder, we'll figure it out, we'll do all those things. And you do just need some timing and some luck. Do you feel like, I say God, universe, Madonna, whatever you believe, I'm a big Madonna fan, like kind of came through and like the right people showed up at the right time, or something was just kind of looking out for you and in the right way?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hate saying this sometimes, but it's true. Like I quit my job in 2019, like right before COVID, to pursue music. And like COVID hitting, I was able to still get, because it was like within a year, I was able to still get my pay from my corporate job while in COVID when I wasn't working, which was insane. And I was like able to, take those 16 hours a day and learn as much as I could and be able to support myself. And like, I was still driving Uber, to make ends meet. But like, a lot of that weight was lifted off because I had the COVID funds coming in, and like, I was able to focus and just like grind and learn so much. So that was a really lucky time for me. Cause like, that's what I should have been doing anyways. Starting a business. Like I should have been at a computer 16, 18 hours a day, learning and studying and improving my craft and finding my sound and doing those things. So like that timing was kind of crazy for me. Like that was very helpful. I feel like I accelerated my career like 2 or 3 years in that one year where we were all stuck at home. So that was something. And then, yeah, I mean, there's always luck. There's always luck involved, but it's the thing about opportunity meeting luck. You got to be prepared for it. You got to be, in the right position to receive that luck. So the only way you can do that is by trying and going out there and doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's you control what you can control, and you got to just kind of let the rest happen.
Mhm.
But let's get to the good stuff. Like I said, I'm a big Madonna fan, and one of my favorite quotes from her is, I didn't start singing because I had the best voice. I started singing because I had something to say. So I love my music, humans, and I want to talk about the art, but my first and like most important question is like, what is it you have to say? Like, why do you want to get on the mic, and what do you want to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, like when I had a pretty rough childhood. My parents split when I was 3. My dad was relatively out of the picture for most of my life, and I grew up with my mom in a single family household, no brothers and sisters. And my mom and I had like a lot of issues. Like she had her own stuff going on, and I had a chip on my shoulder about a lot of things. And so we just like butt heads a lot, and we had a very tumultuous relationship. There was some abuse in the house, on both sides. And I was just dealing with a lot as a kid. And I went through a very just rough time where I was very depressed and very sad and just like kind of hopeless. And just, I hated my childhood growing up. And that's what got me on the mic in the first place. That's what got me writing, was like, just like this intense emotion and things I was going through, like, that I needed to talk about. I just wanted to be heard. I really just wanted to be like heard, because, I felt like what I was going through wasn't right. And I still think that, and I still feel like that kind of motivates me to this day, because I was in some of my darkest points as a kid. And I remember like just promising myself, like, I'm going to make my adult life worth it. And I'm going to speak about what has happened, and speak about, my feelings and thoughts. And maybe I can help some people. Maybe I can inspire some people. Maybe I can connect with some people. And so that's like where it all started, is just this drive to just be heard and be connected with other people who may be going through something similar. And it kind of evolved now into I want to be just like a catalyst for people to be the best versions of themselves, is like really important to me. Like, because I've been on both sides of that coin. In that period of my life, I was probably like 10 to like 17, 18, where I was like just not in a good place, going down a bad path, like doing things I'm not proud of, like just mad at the world. And I was able to get out of that through different ways, not just by myself. I was pulled out by other people. And so I just, being on both sides of that coin, I want to like help inspire people to work on being the best version of themselves, and know that that's a daily and everyday battle. And I want to motivate people like with the music, and inspire them to grind and hustle and shine and put in the work. And yeah, like that's a big part for me, just because that's what I know, that's what I've done. I've come here through grinding, I've come here through hustling, and through my business acumen, and just also my street smarts. Like, I love chess. Chess is one of my favorite games in the world. So like thinking like a few moves ahead and stuff. Like, I just want to inspire and motivate people to go after what they want, and yeah, like take care of their mental health, and know that it's okay to not be their best self every day, but keep pushing for that. I think that's important for my journey, and it's just something that I love to share.
There you go. I mean, life really is a journey. We don't really have it figured out. I think the older you get, the more you're like, damn, I had no idea, but I still kind of don't have any idea. Like I'm learning more, but I'm still trying to like go one step at a time and figure that out. But music to me is, I was a 80s baby, 90s kid. So I grew up with earphones in my ear all the time, and it was my escape. And I think I had mentioned to you, like at one point I want to build a choir. I'm not a musical human like yourself, but I've always had this like random internal pull and call. So we'll get there, and you'll be one of the first humans that I call to be like, all right, we got to figure this out. But I love unity and voice. I love the energy. I love getting people together. And I love, you can, not speak the same language, especially with violin when it's, if you don't have lyrics, like it's just such this like tangible, positive energy that can unite people. And it's so much more powerful than I think people understand. And then you have this opportunity to be seen and be heard. And that's what everybody wants at the end of the day. And this music is just such an incredible tool and, unifying thing that bring people together in such a powerful way. I know you have big goals and you have big things coming up, but has there been a moment where you've sat there and you're like, this is a big deal? Like, have you absorbed like some of the success thus far and been like, man, I can't believe I did this? Like, you really let it hit?
Man. I'll take moments. Like I'm still a fan of my own music, which I love. Like I'll just sit here and just listen to my own stuff and just like bump out. And I still take time for that. And I definitely do take time to just like sit with myself and give myself the flowers and kind of look where I've come and where I am. I think that's important. I think that's healthy. And yeah, like it's cool too. It's also like inspiring to look and see where you've come from and where you are and where you still want to go. So I definitely try to give myself that time. It's not a lot of time, but it's enough, whether it's, like 10, 15 minutes every other day or a day, just to like sit with my music or look at my socials and just be like, damn, I did that. It's good.
That's right. That's what's up. Well, because I'm athlete, so it's never enough. We need to train more. We got to do something better. So I always try and pause and be like, all right, we had little wins today, or look where we were compared to a year ago. And I think when you get in the rat race, especially like in LA, where everyone around you is doing something bigger and better car, more money, this and that, and it's so easy to get swooped into the comparison game. You got to pull back and just take a minute and be like, okay, time out. I got to do my thing my way and stay in it. Do you have any good tips or tricks or trades? Hey mom.
That's my mom.
What up? Happy Thanksgiving. That you've done that does allow you to pause and kind of like meditate or something like that, where you can just check back in and stay in your zone?
I'm a very oriented, task-oriented person. I would say I use Asana. You ever heard of Asana?
Oh yeah.
I use Asana to run my life.
Okay.
So I've been doing that for like 9 years, but maybe 10 years. But I have in my Asana every day, like, meditate. Like I have in there a task I gotta check off to have a complete day. So it's regimented for me. Like I take the time every day if I have the time. Not a long time, but I'll sit, I'll meditate, I'll try to get in touch with myself and my body. And I also have like my workout on there, like all the stuff that I should be doing for my mental and physical health is on that task list. I think that's a super helpful, easy win right there, is using task lists to just like create habits that are great for your mental health and body and business and everything.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious. I had this kind of like breakthrough moment right around Halloween, because I was watching Beetlejuice, and Turmeric and Tequila people like explain this, and like the podcast, like my life, one thing is always kind of turned to the other. So I never had like this pinpointed goal. I was just kind of kept showing up and figuring things out, which I'm being an athlete, I think I'm comfortable in that. But I was watching Beetlejuice and I was sitting there and I'm like, dude, imagine Tim Burton walking into like, whatever major movie studio, and he's sitting there before it's a thing, and he's like, all right, in any of his projects, I've got this dead guy, and then he comes back to life, and then he's half green, he wears this black and white tuxedo, and then there's this weird family with abstract. I mean, imagine just explaining the vision of Beetlejuice. And I was sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, God, that's kind of like Turmeric and Tequila. Like, I don't really know. I can see it, and sometimes I can't always explain it. But like, does that identify with you and your journey of like, it's there, you get it, but it's kind of a daily practice to continue to make the rest of the world understand?
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, I've been joking. This was a joke for me. Like when I was in high school, like I could rap and play violin. Like that was because everyone knew I played classical violin. Not everybody, but like my close friends knew I played classical violin, and like knew I was trying to be a rapper. So everyone was always like, "You should rap and play violin." I was like, huh, that'd be funny. Like that'd be cool someday. Yeah, maybe. Like who knows? This was always in the back of my head, like the possibility. And it was always like, if I can't figure out music on my own, like without the violin, then okay, I'll bring it in, kind of thing. But like, like to even now, like doing it, it's still something I'm having to like convince other people that it makes sense. Because a lot of people still, even when they hear it, they're just like, how does that work? And so yeah, you just gotta do it. That's the best way to prove yourself and the other people wrong, is just to do it and keep doing it and be consistent. And like I said, be okay with failures and keep learning and getting 2% better, every time you do it. If you can, that's important too. And showing, the vision, like I said, the vision is super important to any like big goal. You gotta really envision it yourself before it's easier to envision yourself than to make it envisionable to other people. So like if you really got to envision that and just keep pushing, and you'll get it.
keep showing up. I completely agree. And sometimes it takes, like, I think I'm with you because the vision, because I could always see it. Sometimes it's hard for me to explain things. Even as a marketing and branding professional, I'm better with other people's work. And sometimes it's still coming together to be fully like what it is. Do you remember the moment where you're like, all right, maybe I had a violin performance, but I'm going to throw in rap today, or vice versa? Like, do you remember the first day or first time you put it all together and you're like, holy shit, this works?
Yeah, it wasn't as linear. Like I had put out a song that was mostly violin, and then at the end of the song, like I had like 10 seconds of like vocals.
Okay.
And I did that, and it worked enough. And that was the thing that the Michael Jackson coach was like, keep doing this. So like when I did that, I was like, okay, like I have something here. And then I remember just like refining that, and I turned it into my now favorite style, which is where I have like a vocal hook, and then where I would have a verse is the violin, and then it goes back to the vocal hook. So like that's now, like, it started with just violin, and I added in little vocals at the end to this formula that is now really working, and now has become like my formula. And I remember making the first song like that, and I was like, oh, this works. Like that makes sense. Like it's a great mix of what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to do, and it's entertaining, and it sounds good, and it's a cool way to show off both, the vocals and the violin. It's what this is. So just by and I do remember sitting in my studio being like, I could recreate this. This could be a branding thing. I could do this with 100 other songs and have it be something that's mine and no one else's. And it was a cool feeling for sure.
Hell yeah.
Very inspiring.
For sure. Well, I think, yeah, when you get that internal like aha moment of like, oh shit, this might be it. Like this might be the thing. It's so cool to lean in. Then you got the whole thing of like, how are we explaining Beetlejuice to the movie theater? Like, we'll figure that out. But it's like one day at a time, one step at a time, where you're just kind of put it together, but continue to show up. And what's also really cool is you're bringing like the classical music community and like the hip hop community, and you're exposing those sides to each other, and having, I mean, as cliche and cheesy as it is, like people making friends over music, or people that otherwise wouldn't be in the same community now crossing paths because of a concert or something where it was like seemed mutually exclusive, but now there's like this ampersand in the middle, your music, that's bringing it all together. That's pretty cool. Have you seen that at your shows or anything?
I've seen it in my shows. I've seen it in my comments. It's beautiful. Okay. Really, really cool. I love it. I love people. Yeah. Different cultures meeting up over the love of music. And I love people who say that they've never liked the violin, or like have never really been into the violin, and now they're super into it. Like never been into hip hop, and now they're into it. Like it's such a cool thing for sure. Very, very rewarding.
The merging. And man, we need that come 2025. Just people understanding other people's perspectives and having a conversation, and just uniting in general. I am curious with the success of Bridgerton. I don't know if you watched it or not, but they did all the classical music. I mean, they're disruptors in the game, mixing up what old school history used to look like. And they're very intentional. Shonda Rhimes, shout out to her, guest goals. But did any like that, the popularity of them doing the classical music to like more pop songs, did that help facilitate any of your audience or open up doors or anything like that?
I think that's some of like the luck we were talking about. Like it probably opened up some doors. Like people are probably like more open to receiving like violin covers of things, or like more violent string led music. Personally, like I never, like when I first started like making the music and stuff, like Bridgerton wasn't even out. It hasn't really affected like my art per se, but I definitely think the general public, I think that kind of thing like made it more acceptable and more palatable. So shout out Bridgerton.
There you go. Let's go. Shout out. You got to connect with her.
I know. I'm trying to. Everyone keeps saying we need a Clejan song on there, and I think so too.
Dude, keep putting it out to the universe. I love it. Well, my thing is I like stuff like that, but my thing with the art and the music, I like being able to see you move, like the movement and the energy, like the artists be able to feel their own art, but like because it takes over, like the whole energy is like this visible thing. Is it kind of like I don't know if you're religious or spiritual, whatever have you, but is it like a spiritual experience for you when you do perform?
Sometimes. Like, yeah, sometimes, sometimes I'll perform and the people will just stare at me like this.
Yeah.
And then that's not as cathartic. That's not as spiritual, because I'm just like, in the back of my head, what are you doing? Like sometimes people will be like jumping with me and like in it with me. And that when I'm feeling like this moment of like we're all together and doing something with this music, like that is spiritual for sure. I rise 10 feet in the air. Like it just depends on the performance. But that's my favorite types of performances, obviously, is when you can connect like that. And yeah, because it's all about connection. And it's hard to connect with people when they're just like,
I know that I know there needs to be a concert promotion type thing where they like get like-minded fans with a certain energy together. I don't know how you'd facilitate that, but something that it can be done better. I love it. Well, I could ask you a million more questions, but I'm a fan. I love the music. I love what you're doing. I love how it's uniting people. Tell us about like what you have coming up or big shows or anything you want to put out into the world that, we should be looking out for.
Yeah, I would say definitely feel free to follow me on my socials. I just hit 1 million followers on TikTok. Next goal is out on Instagram. I'm the trap violinist on both. And then definitely check out the music. I'm on all music platforms as Clejan, Clejan. Big things coming up. I've got an album coming out at the beginning of the year. Another one coming out a couple months after. One instrumental, one vocal. I like to do like have half my catalog be just instrumental and then half the other catalog be the healthy mix. And so I would say check out I have a pre-save link. If you go to my socials or the link in the bio, like that's where you can find all this stuff, whether it's merch or pre-save link to the music or my music NFTs for any Web3 people. But I'd say check out the links. Pre-saving the music will be awesome and sharing the music as well. Also, I'm going to be going on tour. I did like a mini tour at the end of this year, and it was very amazing. I had so much fun playing all over, and I plan to play in every major city in the U.S. like very soon. So if anyone wants to see me at a show, I have a touring line in my socials that you can text your city, and then I can let you know when I'm playing a show near there, and it also helps me book shows in that city. So that would be very helpful if anyone wants to see a show.
Very cool. That's amazing. And we talked about this on our call, but we'll get you out here to Denver. We'll figure it out. We've got some cool things happening and some music humans out here. I don't know how it all fits together, but I have faith. And of course we'll, throw the dream line of the choir up in the air as well. Yes. So lots of good stuff. And again, with the big year, a big election, all this energy's out there. We need more creators. We need more music. We need more just like good, positive, tangible energy. So I appreciate that you're doing that. Our final question I always like to wrap on is what is success to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Really good question. I think that success, just like layman's terms, it's doing something that you love every day and being able to support yourself and your family and the people you care about while you're doing it. I think that's like the simplest thing, is just doing something you love, being able to support you and your loved ones and being, comfortable and happy while doing it. I guess like that's just a simple thing for me. Like, so yeah, like for me, like I feel like I've already achieved. Like when I started out, I literally was like, and success, the metric of success can change too. And I think that's totally fine. Like when I started out, my metric was just like, all right, let me just, if I don't make it anywhere, like I'll be okay with that. If I can just like support myself being a violinist, whether I'm just a wedding violinist or an event violinist, like I can live with that. Like because I know it's something I love, and I can support myself and maybe my family with it too. Like, and then as I kept growing and that level of success the ceiling kept rising. So I think it can be a thing that can change, but I think starting out with just something that, can fulfill you and support you in this world, I think that's a great start.
So well said. I agree. I hope people listen to this and their through line, hearing your journeys, they're inspired just to share the gifts. Like find a way to whatever you have to give this world to do that creatively, spiritually, energy, whatever it is, like show up and find a way to blaze a trail, because that's what this world needs now. And I think you're the perfect example of making your soul work and finding a way to share it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. Like, you don't have to go on world tours or anything. Like, just art is important. You feel me? Oh, I froze again. I froze one more time. Okay, I'm unfrozen. I was going to say art is important. Your art is important. It's worth it. It's worth pursuing it.
I completely agree. Go check out what Zac has going on. It's really inspiring. It's really good. And I think this is something that like the kids can listen to, the parents, everyone in between. And, you know, you can get formal and get dressed up and listen to the classical side, go through on some jeans, listen to the rap side, and just watch these worlds merge. But dude, I'm pumped to see like what you do next, who you collab with, because I think the business side is obviously a key to your hustle and how it's all going to come together. I think I see some really cool random collabs for you and some cool shit. So we'll definitely have to get you to Denver, but I'm pumped that you're doing this. And I hope people tune in for the music, but also just for the journey, because I want our independent entrepreneurs and creatives to seek their path. And the way you're doing it is incredible. The social media, all the business side. So if you're out there, you're creative, you're entrepreneur, you're like, I just don't know what to do, go check out Zac's music, but watch what he's doing and how he's doing it, because that's a key piece of the game and he's doing it really, really well. So I just made you the mentor for all these young humans out there. So look at that.
Thank you. I'm down. I'll be the mentor I never had. I'm so down.
Let's go. But yes, go check his out. All his things going on. Million on TikTok, dude. That's amazing. Quick thank you to our sponsors, Lux Neuro, Neurofeedback and Counseling. They want to meet you. If you're ready to transform your life, go visit them at luxneuro.com. Colorado Clownfish Swim School, go waterproof your family. And Declan James Watches, our Navy veteran family, go support their cause. Go check out Zac, what he's got going on. I appreciate everyone listening and tuning in. We'll be wherever you get your podcasts, and look for the video on YouTube. Cheers.
Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.